Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what is up, down, and what is sideways? It's League Unlock. I'll tell you what's sideways. It's playoff action because there were some spicy games this weekend across NA and EU, and even we'll throw in the LPL because the games are always spicy, but we're doing a weekend recap episode, and we start in the playoff areas of North America and Europe. All the big boys, all the big name orgs, save for Team Liquid, we're in action over the weekend, and it was a spicy time. I'm going to say that a lot of drafting concerns with certain teams. Emotes get unleashed in Europe, which absolutely were the highlight of the weekend for me.
We've been waiting.
Been waiting a long
Those
time.
were the big time introduction here in the LEC, and I think that the matches, the series that we had over in Europe this weekend, pretty much were almost perfect. Perfect debut matches for the emotes to come through here.
Yeah.
Give that extra little bit of spiciness, a little bit of BM, and hey, you know what? On Origen side, Destiny learned quick and fast here. You flash one of those, and it's coming right back in your face. You better be ready.
Yeah. Bwipo and Destiny absolutely pick up emote MVPs for the weekend from their respective series. But before we get to that, we got to talk about North America because it is the end of the run in spring for Team Solo Mid, ousted by FlyQuest in 5 games, and the 5th game wasn't particularly close, and really, they were a few plays away from this potentially being a 3-0 sweep in the favor of FlyQuest. Got it out. There we go.
The disappointing thing here, and I think the disappointment has to be the major word here, a word that unfortunately I think the TSM fan base in North America is extremely familiar with.
They're now synonymous with that, like potential and CLG back in the day. So
yeah,
it's one and the same.
Yeah, it's not looking good in the sense that you looked at this roster, you looked at the talent that was there, and even the results that they had shown you on the Rift here, and the ceiling is a lot higher than what they reached here in the playoffs, and especially with the consistency of their play, didn't reach anywhere close to that here, what you would expect and what you wanted here. And yes, of course, part of that falls absolutely on the players that are in this lineup here. That's a major part of it, obviously, but a big one has to be the coaching staff here, and especially after this weekend and what we saw with the drafting and some of these decision making going on here, this absolutely comes down to, and yes, even in drafts, it is about, what players are telling their coaches as well. There needs to be a level of accountability here. There needs to be a bottom line here answer. And when you consistently are being put behind the 8 ball here in these type of drafts, it's a little bit more here than just your players trying to say something here, trying to come through something. There are some bigger issues here holding back TSM from reaching that potential that they've shown us here. And once again, it is that disappointing feeling because you know that this team is capable of performing better, capable of giving us better here, but it just doesn't happen, not nearly enough, not nearly consistently enough here. And again, the real question becomes, would you feel happy if TSM was going on to the next series here? Or would you really feel that FlyQuest or someone else got cheated by a team that's just kind of, okay, here or there, we kind of figure it out, get it together, and get through here? They really, with the performances that they showed us here this past weekend, they didn't deserve to go any further this way.
And they had the most dominant win of the series in Game 4, but I think across the 5 games, you're hard-pressed to argue that FlyQuest wasn't the better team, despite getting smashed in that 4th game. And the main complaints, when you look at the pick ban, you had Aphelios and Nautilus 4 out of the 5 games, and the most dominant game was the Xayah Rakan. And, I mean, Nautilus and Aphelios were not the champions that you were putting beside Biofrost and Kabe, or what they were recognized for throughout all of spring.
No, and especially it becomes questionable what was going on in your scrims here, because the Nautilus pick is very confusing for someone like Biofrost, who's only throughout the entirety, I believe, of his LCS career, played it about 4 times over the course of a couple of years here, and has actually only a 25% win rate, I'm pretty sure, on the Nautilus here. That is not what you're looking for in a playoff series. And again, if you're looking for something like Nautilus, if you're looking for hooks, you're looking for that type of peel, why not pick the Thresh, which Biofrost is extremely known for? And we've already seen Thresh played a bunch of times here in the LEC, in the LCK, and LPL, so it's not like it's super far out of the meta here. And you can't tell me that watching these games here that you thought Nautilus, what Nautilus brings in his kit, was the only only option here for Biofrost, other than obviously later on in the series, and again, too late, figuring out the power of Rakan here and how valuable it was going to be to not only get it for Biofrost, but to keep it away from Ignar and FlyQuest, excuse me. Not recognizing here that this Nautilus wasn't working after even the first, maybe the second time here, I'll allow it. But especially to go anything more than that and not entertain or go with the idea here of hey, Nautilus hasn't been working. Let's keep the hook. Let's throw Thresh in there. Let's have the Flay. Let's have everything. But let's also keep the Lantern here from Thresh. Maybe add that in to change things out. And you can't tell me that wouldn't have been a better pivot type of point here, at least provided some level of difference here on the FlyQuest side for them to think about than just this Nautilus pick, which again wasn't seeming to be on page with what Biofrost was comfortable with doing or what TSM wanted him to engage with.
And a lot of the blame, as is tradition for TSM, is going to fall on the jungler, Dardoch. He had 23 deaths in this series throughout, and the Jarvan games were not impressive. He looks great on the Elise, but then he gets thrown on Sejuani, which is just a pick that doesn't really make sense for him, isn't something that we've seen him dominate on since maybe Echo Fox, the days of that, and the tanks put him on a carry.
He's got barely over a 30% win rate here with the Sejuani, and I don't want this to turn into obviously okay, he's got a this percent win rate on this type of thing, because you can't obviously operate the game and drafts completely on that type of situation. But 30% here over a very long period of time indicates that this is clearly not exactly the type of style of champion that Dardoch is maybe necessarily confident, strong on, all these type of things that you would want your jungler to be feeling in a game 5 here. The Sejuani pick wasn't doing it for Dardoch, and even at that point here with being on a champion that I don't think, let alone leaving the Olaf open here as the counter pick into that and the Azir and everything else we can get into that game 5 draft was horrible. But I think the decision making still was not there from Dardoch in that game 5. He had that opportunity, level 3, right by mid lane here. Power of Evil shoves in on the Azir, gets that priority mid lane, and Dardoch is like, yeah, this is the perfect time for me to engage here on this gank. Meanwhile, if he waits another couple of seconds, bot lane's going to be able to back him up there.
Literally 3 seconds, and it's actually a 3v3.
He's an Echo. And again, but right from there, puts the Sejuani behind here.
And the other thing, as Mark disappears for a moment on Discord, we might have to re-sign in. Oh no, he's back. He's back.
Yeah, I'm back.
So across the board, the pick bans, there was just hardly any adjustment throughout the entire series for TSM. 3 games of Aatrox for Broken Blade, 3 games of Jarvan for Dardoch. Really, it was only the mid lane where you saw Bjergsen play 4 different champions, because game 1 and 2 you had, for whatever reason, the exact same draft happened. I don't know why teams keep doing this in playoffs. They just run it back again, which is what happened between games 1 and 2. But draft was a huge issue for TSM throughout. But let's give some credit. Power of Evil looked great again. Ignar was rock solid. Wild Turtle had some questionable moments, but for the most part, some of his aggressive plays were absolutely paying off.
Yeah, here, look. As much as we can go into the negative sides on everything that went wrong here for TSM and the bad decision making, bad plays, all those type of things, there is still absolutely room in this series to give credit to what FlyQuest was able to accomplish, what they came in here to do. And one of the ones that I really want to jump on right away early here is Solo. The pickup of Solo here for this FlyQuest squad has been a big difference maker. And it's been huge here having him deliver these type of steady performances in the top side here. And he's had this type of effect in the past here of having, one of these carries in the top lane that he's going up against here. Everyone expects here that BB is going to be the one to give out here the damage on that side, but it's not. It is absolutely Solo with taking it here. And he's been a thorn in the side of TSM before, and he does it again.
And, you got Hunter playing with his toy, so Mark's going to adjust that. That was the squeaking going on in the background. Shoutouts to Hunter, the doggo. But Solo, yeah, you saw him start to get more of the starts earlier in the playoff run, and absolutely they've been running with that. Santorin, he did outclass Dardoch in most of these matchups, and it's just a couple more ex-TSM members getting their revenge against TSM in the playoffs. And this team's too talented to not go further in the playoffs. Hopefully we see the same roster for summer. Don't want to see Dardoch getting subbed out or anything. The other North American matchup, Cloud9. Welcome back, Mark. Welcome back.
Sorry
I told
about
them
that
the
one,
story.
boys.
The squeaky toy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. Sorry, guys. Hey, everyone understands. They're dogs. What are you going to do?
Yeah. If I had a squeaky toy like that, I'd be biting on it all day. Cloud9 versus EG was the other series. And Mark, gods can bleed. Cloud9 drops their second game of the series. I'm actually very impressed that EG won that third game, because after the first two games, it was like, man, this is a different stratosphere of competition. Cloud9 dumpstered them the first two, so respect to EG getting that third game.
Yeah, I think that the really nice thing about seeing EG get that game, and it's your right, gods can bleed type of situation here, is especially in the playoffs and the form that we had seen already in the playoffs from Cloud9 and what you had seen earlier on in that series, you felt, oh man, here it is. It's over already. It doesn't matter who gets thrown in here. It's going to be the Cloud9 show all the way through here. Not the case. They are definitely still the top level team here and still showing us
Oh, it's
all
still
those
not
things,
close.
Right, but there still is, I think, now that slight opportunity, that slight doubt in your mind here, that if everything goes right, if everything falls and right into the situation here, and EG is playing perfect, if FlyQuest are playing perfect, they find a way to play exactly to their conditions and what they want,
They can win a game.
Yeah, they can win a game, and the question is, can you do that 2 more times?
No. Unless Cloud9 is playing completely off on any given day, but they're going to be playing FlyQuest or EG as they meet in the winners finals. Cloud9's already sitting pretty in those finals, and I can't give either of those squads one game. More than one game. I could give them one, but I can't see even a game 5 happening in the finals with either of them.
Hey, at the very least here, when you're looking at the performances on the individual side here, if you had TSM heading towards this type of thing, I could tell you, you know what, Bjergsen will show up and he will deliver a performance here. But when you're at least looking here with Evil Geniuses and FlyQuest, I can promise you at least 2 members of those squads are going to show up here in the finals. You're going to be having Jizuki and Bang here absolutely delivering the performances that they've shown us here towards the end of the split and playoffs here for EG. And for FlyQuest, on that side, it's going to be, of course, your boy Power Vivo and Ignar always being in form here for that squad. But definitely the shout-outs coming through to Solo. Big task heading up to see if he can continue to stifle the other top laners.
And we talked about Blabber versus Svenskeren, that storyline coming into it. Those 2 Nocturne games, oh man, Blabber just completely outclassed Svenskeren. That must have felt so good for him to beat up on the former Cloud9 MVP.
Yeah, and again, one of these type of things that Cloud9 brings to the table is just the X factor of how much Blabber can completely pop off and change the course of a game here, absolutely making a difference maker. And again, the other thing that is, of course, if Blabber's making a difference, you know who's right behind him. It's your boy Niski coming through to clean things up and make sure that he's still there, picking up the skills, picking up the damage, and Cloud9 picking up the victories.
Yeah, and don't ever let Niski get Zoe for the rest of playoffs, because he's still not died on the champion in 4 games. Another 11-0-7 performance. And that was opposite Jizuke's Rise, who went 0-6 in that matchup. So even against some of the power picks for EG, it was still just a beatdown at the hands of Cloud9. And I would be terrified to match up against them.
You got to be careful if you're Kumo or Solo, though, because, hey, Kumo and Solo both play a ton of that boy Aatrox in the top lane there. And Licorice of all the top laners in NA, he is the guy ready to bust out that Hecarim once again here to take down the Aatrox.
Did like the Poppy pick from Kumo. That was fun. Got to win with that.
That one could be.
You look good on it.
That could be exactly what they need here.
Can't pull it off again, though, because now Licorice knows it's coming.
It's going to have to be one for all, and they need 5-man Poppy ultimates to just knock all the C9 players out of the server, and that's the only way I see it really becoming the full series win.
That's how Cloud9 loses in the finals. They decide to pivot and play one for all. That's the secret. You just got to vote on that beforehand, all 10 players, then there you go.
One for all Zoe, there we go.
Oh, I don't think Cloud9 loses that one. Over in Europe, G2 in the losers bracket weren't expecting that. Matched up against Origen. They win 3-1, but that was a close series, especially the first couple of games. I felt bad for OG because they should have picked up at least one of those. They were really contested, back and forth. a lot of the issues that we had with G2 after that Mad series are still there, even after Origen. Caps, his positioning is not good. Yeah, he got a pentakill, almost 2 pentakills, but his positioning when he doesn't have Mickey on a support that is either Tom Kench or somebody just completely peeling for him nonstop, he's racking up a lot of deaths. Perks had an uncharacteristic, underwhelming performance. Now, Nukeduck also did in some of these matches, even when he had an early game lead, but still feel like outside of Jankos, there's a bit of a question mark on every member of G2 going forward.
They're clearly not playing at the absolute peak here, pinnacle for G2, or with the same type of synergy that we've seen from them and before. And I was laughing. Someone said it. If Aphelios had a dash, Caps would be the most disgusting Aphelios player in the world. And you're right, because if he just had a little bit of extra mobility here to position himself in some of these team fights, it'd be disgusting. But that's kind of the stick with the ADC role, is that other than a couple champions, and unless your champions come out in the last couple of weeks, other than Aphelios, I guess that's the type of thing, you're not getting those type of dashes here. You're not getting to position around like that. And certainly we saw those issues early on with Perks in the bottom lane here, but Mickey was helping him with that a big part here. Haven't exactly seen that type of curve here for Caps as far as getting better with the positioning here on some of those traditional marksmen that we've seen.
Yeah, and even Wonder, for the last almost month, I feel like, hasn't been playing to the level that we're accustomed to seeing out of him as kind of perennially the best top laner in EU. He hasn't been that throughout all of spring. We both had him on the 3rd team All-Pro. Still think he deserves to be finishing there throughout these playoff series.
He feels like he's missing. He feels like he's missing something outside of, when he played that period of those support champions in the top lane was really strong for him in G2, and he really had kind of that, above everybody else and pretty much anyone. He had that grasp over how to play them in the solo lanes and things like that. And then since that went away, he hasn't really been able to find any 1 or 2 champions, I think, that you could identify with Wonder putting out strong performances here on the G2 side here in the top side.
Yeah, and it's really just playing meta champions. Like he played the Nico. That was kind of fun. Not many top laners are picking that. But other than that, Maokai, Ornn, and Aatrox.
Yeah.
Usually we don't see him on that many tanks, which is surprising to see. Half the games in this series he was on a tank.
Right, and I don't mean this to be negative, but I don't think that out of all those tanks, I don't think you're necessarily wanting to put Wonder in the top 3 of the LEC and how he pilots those tank champions. But if you're talking about something more like a Camille or something else, then we can have a different conversation.
But G2, unless, again, Jankos was great this entire series. He was clearly the most consistent and star player of G2, as he was the entirety of spring, and why he should probably get MVP. But if everyone else doesn't step up, sure, G2 can probably take down Mad Lions in that revenge series, but they are not beating Fnatic at that current level unless they really step up their play.
Right, and the only way would be to have Fnatic make a mistake and then pivot off of that and capitalize again, the type of thing that G2 is very good.
And we know current Fnatic can go mental boom against G2. Not anyone else in the league, but against G2. We've seen it happen before.
It's that special passive ability that Carlos has built into G2 now, is that tilt factor for other teams. That's a special one there. But yeah, the performance has to step up if they are wanting to be the champions of the LEC. Once again, you're right. I think with just how talented this roster is and the skill that they can put together here, yes, if they get everything working together again, they can get through Mad Lions, no problem here at this point. No problem. That's maybe a little bit too strong here.
Some
gotta
problem,
be careful.
But
definitely some problems. But when you're looking elsewhere at the form that we have seen from Fnatic, it's not going to cut it here. This level, you need to get back to your form, or at the very least here, maybe start innovating, maybe start playing around with the ideas that we've been talking about, the champions, world swapping, perks, caps, those type of things throughout the draft.
Maybe they're saving something spicy. They might be saving something spicy. They're still memeing a bit. Like you heard Perks talk about this coffee machine. He wanted a $1,000 one. Carlos only got him a $400 one. And he said, well, I guess we'll just lose to Mad Lions again. So they're still memeing about it a little bit, which means they have that G2 swagger and confidence heading into that Mad Lions matchup. But for Fnatic, So Mad takes down G2, and then Fnatic plays them and is like, what? You guys beat G2? What?
Yeah,
Who's this?
what?
Absolutely smashed them in those 3 games. Bwipo's Malphite, that's where we got to see the emote spam. And by the way, I forgot to mention the other series. One more shout out to Destiny. The FPX emote. It doesn't matter that they lost the game. That was amazing.
Your heart was in the right place. The heart was absolutely in the right place. You knew exactly where just how to slip that dagger and just twist it a little bit there. It was perfect. But it just kind of blew up in your face a little bit there, Des.
But I respect him making that play. And
hell yeah.
That's a smart emote play. Bwipo on the Malphite. Listen, when you're a Felios and a Malphite just alt 1 combos you, I mean...
Hey, rock goes boom. That's it, man.
You don't have flash, you don't play the game, basically. And when the tank is just standing there, spamming an emote, tanking your auto attacks... Get the next game. Get me out.
Eventually, what do you do then when, oh, wait, my flash isn't on cooldown for another couple of minutes because it's flash. And, oh, wait, your ultimate's up because it's been just a couple of seconds in your Malphite. Cool. This is fair. Love 200 years of experience, eh?
But, I mean, 30 minutes across the board. Game 3 was 31 minutes. They were all absolutely in control by Fnatic. And that last game, they had 31 kills in 31 minutes. A couple of score lines. You had Reckless go 12-0-11 on the Misfortune. Okay. And Self-Made the entire series. As you see, 21-3 and 27 across 3 games.
Again, I know that he's not paying any attention to this type of thing, but I tell you what, it seems like the Fnatic squad has seen our All-Pro LEC list and said, man, come on. What are you doing here, you silly guys? Put us up here a little bit higher here. Absolutely making me look back on that list. And even though I know it's about the regular season and the performance here in the playoffs can't impact it, I'm just looking at it and I'm like, man, I'm so stupid. It's crazy. The performances that these guys are living up to the level here and delivering in the playoffs. It's looking all good on the Fnatic side.
Fnatic will be the favorites heading into the finals. Doesn't matter if Mad, especially if Mad completes another upset against G2. We already see what saw what Fnatic did to them. But even if G2 wins, Fnatic should be the favorites over them. They look like they are firing on all cylinders. Their pick ban is insane. I think people have forgotten that Mithy's the coach. And he has been a fantastic addition. We knew that he was one of the most cerebral support players when he was a professional player, but he has fit in seamlessly to that head coaching role.
And hey, a lot of people, rightfully so, in the LEC, the coach of the split, I believe, is going to Mac here for the Mad Lions, and the work that you do with 4 rookies to get to that spot, that gets my vote here for the coach of the split. But immediately right behind him, and again, good enough, and that's 4 rookies of this, type of dealing with 4 rookies.
That's
from
impressive.
Lions here.
That's impressive.
It's extremely impressive. But right behind him, literally right behind him, has got to be the role here and job that Mithy has done stepping in for Fnatic. And not only what he has done, and people can say, yeah, but you've got all these players and the talent with Fnatic. That's a different monster in its own set here, dealing with established players, dealing with a lineup that has been together and had this type of chemistry. And then you're stepping in as a player that played against them that past year type of situation, to man that level of respect and understanding with your knowledge and things like that. Mithy has really stepped up here for Fnatic, and I think that he does deserve that tip of the cap here, because I know a lot of people were very hard on Mithy for the last couple of years, given the performances here, and maybe he doubted what he could bring on the coaching side given those last 2 years of results, and man, he really has delivered here for Fnatic.
And their map control, map movements, macro is completely night and day from what we saw in 2019. But let's get to some Eastern action. LPL LCK from the weekend. We talked about FPX and IG both coming off some disappointing losses, but they were both able to bounce back. First, FPX versus EDG. That was kind of the match of the weekend, and it was back and forth. It went the full distance, 3 games, but we saw that same Fun plus Phoenix domination in the games that they did win, and maybe more importantly, it was Gimgoon back on the Rift for all 3 games. Khan took a back seat in an important match of the split.
Right, and I don't think that this is in any indication that, it's a total bust here with Khan on FPX. Still going to need a lot more time here to work a player and a play style like that into something like what FPX has, and maybe try to find the best, synergy here between those two styles and how to balance out how much you want on one side or the other here. Putting Gimgoon in here has absolutely put FPX back to that type of, a familiarity level here of what they want to be accomplishing and what they need to be keeping in mind and who's getting what type of attention here. It was a pretty consistent performance all across the board in that series against EDG.
And for the IG side of things, apparently the Shy is just trying an 80 carry only top stream throughout the entire spring split. He played a couple of Lucian games.
All those supports, and he's like, "Yeah, but you're doing it wrong. You want to play the marksman."
We've already seen now Kalista basically permabanned against IG. He played 2 Lucian games against BLG, and then they eventually banned that in the 3rd game. And to varying degrees of success, games 1 and 2 were the ultimate example of the Shy. Game 1, he goes 3-8-1, gets caught out constantly, and he was getting hard camped in the top side, but they lose game 1.
Getting that Dyrus treatment.
Then game 2, he goes 7-3-9, picks up MVP. Both games he was amassing disgusting CS leads against the Mordekaiser, and Lucian versus Mordekaiser. Slightly in favor of the Lucian. But IG, it was a fiesta the first 2 games, and then the 3rd game, they completely dominate. MVP goes to Puff 10-0-4 on his, he loves the Varus pick in the bot lane. But IG and FPX are both still terrifying.
Hey, they are still absolutely your top dogs that you're looking for in the LPL, and especially the ones here that if you're looking to do any type of thing, any type of shaking of the tree here, any type of changing of the order here, you're going to have to go through IG and FPX. And as we saw, hey, last week, maybe a bit of a slip up here, but they are back in form once again here for this week.
Yeah, and IG is still 22-9 in overall game score. They're 11-2, currently the top seed as we head into the final week of regular season action in the LPL. They are locked in for playoffs. FPX at 10-3, I believe, are also locked in for playoffs, which makes sense heading into the final week. There was more action on Monday, which is this morning, last night, whatever you want to call it. A trio, actually, of 2-0s. And, Mark, we finally got it. The debut of JackeyLove on TES. They were just waiting for that coveted V5 matchup, the bottom team in the LPL. It was a 2-0 for TES. There was one play or a couple of plays where you saw JackeyLove and you're like, all right, there we go.
That's my boy.
But for the most part, I think V5 was more concerned with spoiling the debut of JackeyLove than they were with actually winning this series, because they were 4-man diving this guy every single fight.
Given the way that the split has gone for V5, I don't doubt that this would maybe be more valuable to them.
Yeah, you're gonna remember your second win of the split or destroying JackeyLove.
Absolutely all about the JackeyLove show here in this one. And look, on the more positive side here, if you're a top eSport fan, you saw those signs here that we were talking about. You saw 1 or 2 little moments here where you saw the skill, the raw skill of JackeyLove come through, the decision making that he has in these type of fights, that aggression. It's all there, and it is crossing the board here, making sure that top esports is going to have that level of skill. But it certainly is also a sign that we've seen that it's still going to take a couple of weeks. It's still going to need more time to develop the synergy and everything with the rest of this roster. The communication things certainly is going to be a part of it here, but it is absolutely immediately, from the way it looks here, and no, negative things here to Fnatic, it's an immediate upgrade here, adding in this world champion JackeyLove to the top esport lineup.
And remember, for JackeyLove, this was just the tutorial, my man, because your next 2 matches are E-Star and FPX.
A little different.
So it's going to be a little harder than V5. But by the way, Knight, lost in all this. Career high, 19 kills in that second game on the Silas. He finished 19-2. While everybody was dogpiling onto JackeyLove, Knight was killing literally everyone on the Rift.
Yeah, Knight is still thinking, I'm still the star. I'm Knight. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, Jackie who? That's fine.
Yeah,
still my team.
What's going on here, man? Yeah, exactly. Here, no problems here. Knight, business as usual. And again, as we continue into this one here, I can tell you what, you're going to still see Knight popping off here, but get ready to see more of those clips of the JackeyLove style come through for top esports.
eStar also bounced back from their 3-game losing streak. They looked much more like their former selves, 2-0ing OMG, who are actually a playoff team as of right now. So impressive out of them. Wink and Cryan looked really good again. And RNG 2-0'd LNG. RNG were kind of on a downward trend. They're only 1 game ahead of OMG in that 7th spot in playoffs right now. Still no Uzi. Betty did look good. Xiaohu looked good on a couple of quirky games. We got the MVP level Xiaohu this week. Who knows what we'll get next week, but look good this time.
Last week was not so good. This week, much more like the Xiaohu that we like to see here from the RNG squad. And you're right, this is an important time for them to get back into form here after that little slip up the past couple of weeks. Really put them in a bind here as you get towards this rush for playoffs. Hope to see the RNG squad hold things out.
Absolutely. And the LCK, there weren't that many crazy matchups. I mean, sure, you had Genji losing to Hanwha Life, which is actually huge implications for the first seed in the LCK as we head into the final week of the regular season. 3-way tie at first. 13-4 between Genji, Dragon X, and T1. The final schedule is basically how it's going to play out is if Genji wins, they're first because they have the better game score. They're going up against KT Rolster, who are headed to playoffs and actually look a whole lot better. If they lose, well, then it's between DRX and T1, and it depends how they win the series because Dragon X just has 1 more win. Dragon X plays APK Prince, which is the easiest on the schedule. T1 goes up against Afrika. Genji win in your first. If Dragon X wins 2-0, then they're going to be second. So it's probably most likely that T1 is going to finish third.
Yeah, and look, this is a very important first place here in the LCK, and of course, first place is always an important type of situation, but especially here with the change here for the gauntlet situation and how fast things are going to be going on through here. It's not the usual situation where, hey, you got first and now you're going to sit and collect rust here for about a whole month type of situation, and then we'll see you. No, this is going to be just about a week here type of situation where you're going to get a week of looking at all these teams play through and everything that they're going to throw at each other here to get to that final level here. And then you've got all that week of preparation and rest here waiting to take them on in the finals. So it certainly is going to be extremely valuable here to get this first spot locked up here at the end of this split. And we're going to see who's going to get it done here because, man, I tell you what, it's looking easy for the DRX squad if Genji can't take care of business against KT.
Yeah, and really, if you're in first, you only have to play Dragon X or T1, just one of them. You don't have to go through both, which is what the second or third teams are going to have to do. The rest of the playoff picture is locked up. The game score for Afrika is too far below 500. Even if they win and Damwon loses, they're tied at 8 and 10, but that game score doesn't matter. They're not getting through. So we have the 5 teams. It's Damwon, KT, T1, Dragon X, and Genji, just moving around the seeding heading into that final week. And the other compelling race is still the MVP because there's a lot of players right at the top of the standings. Even aiming, he's got 1,000 points. He could maybe sneak in to get that top spot. But BDD and Chovy both have 1,100. Chovy's obviously, both of them have gotten MVP before in the LCK, but both on new teams coming into this split. Exciting to see that they're both the front runners for MVP.
It feels good to have this resurgence here for these two guys. Of course, obviously, maybe Chovy didn't deliver the entirety of a performance that people wanted last year, given the hype that goes around him and how much people keep saying, hey, look, on a one-by-one basis in lane, a lot of people in the LCK would rather take Chovy than someone like Faker and these established names and these type of things. And then, of course, how much BDD had been hyped up here, and then how underwhelming a lot of those performances were with KT, even if he was, out of all the members on KT, the one delivering some of these better performances more than...
Well, fading out. Attack of the Discord strikes again. I'll carry over on Mark's point that BDD did have, and everyone talks about. He had the most solo kills out of any mid laner last split, even though KT was absolutely terrible. As I go in between, maybe I'll try recalling Mark real quick, and we'll see if we can get him back on. But I'm just going to rant until then about the MVP race, and it is somewhat less meaningful in the LCK. because it is just kind of based on these points that teams are going to be getting, and less so about voting where you see in the other leagues. It is strictly these player of the game matches. But either way, it's fair to go to either Chovy or BDD, as both of them had incredible splits. But we're down to just 3 games left, or 3 days of games in the LCK. It's the final, actually just 2. There's no games on Friday. It's just Wednesday, Thursday, and then the regular season gets wrapped up in Korea. And the LPL, it's the final week. We have actually 8 days of games. It goes right through to the Monday. They're playing 3 games a week, 3 games a day to wrap things up. But playoff push coming in full throttle. We're going to preview the finals in the LEC and the LCS, as well as the match before that leading up to it. But that is all the time today for League Unlocked. As I sit in the middle of the screen, it looks like we are asymmetrical. I will say goodbye from Mark, as Discord decided he was not allowed to wrap up the show. But thank you guys for watching, as always, and checking us out in these quarantine times on League Unlocked. And we will catch you all on the flippity flop.